Hi everyone, welcome back to Hope and Coffee. I'm Hope, and I do have some coffee right over here next to me, so I promise we are still the tag team duo that we are supposed to be. But today we are talking about the second date that I ever went on, or the second guy I ever went on a date with from a dating app. And this guy was actually really sweet, really cute, had a fun, quirky personality. But let me tell you what, I think the whole circumstance, the whole situation was like wrong timing. So let me just tell you right off the bat, everything about it seemed like it was wrong timing. So, meet this guy on the dating app and seems really nice. And so we coordinate to go out one evening and we're like, you know what? We're gonna go have some Mexican food. And he tells me a place to we're gonna go have Mexican food. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I go to a Mexican restaurant and I'm there and I'm at the hostess stand and I text him. I'm like, I'm here. And he's like, hey, I'm to the left of the hostess stand. I'm like, no, to the left of the hostess stand is the bar area. So unless you're in the bar area, and then I even asked the hostess, I was like, hey, I showed her a picture. I was like, hey, is this guy here? And she's like, I don't think so, but you're welcome to walk around. And I'm like, okay, I've totally been stood up. Like, this guy is not here. So walk around. I'm like, guy, I send him a pin drop. I said, I am here. And I send him a picture of the sign. I was like, I'm at the restaurant. Where are you? And he is down the street at the other restaurant by the same name. He didn't tell me there were two different locations for the same restaurant. So I get up and leave and go meet him at the restaurant that he's already at, because I guess he had already ordered chips and guac and margaritas for the table for us. So I had not ordered at the location I had gone to. So we get there, pretty good conversation. We're laughing about it. I didn't stand him up. He didn't realize there was a second location. I didn't realize there was a second location. He went to the first one he came to. I went to the first one I came to. And they just literally happened to be like 5 miles apart. So we decide, or actually he's like, well, do you want to go play putt-putt? Yeah, let's go play putt-putt. This sounds like a great idea. I'd love to play putt-putt. Because actually he was like, hey, well, do you want to go bowling? And said, if you remember via our text message conversations, the one thing that I really hate doing, and I really do, I hate doing this, is bowling. I am awful at bowling. Please always have bumpers available for me. For some weird reason, I am all power and no aim, and I will throw it halfway down the alley, and it will land and go into the gutter. So, preferably, no bowling for me, if possible. So at first he's like, hey, let's go bowling. And I'm like, could we not? And he's like, well, there's a putt-putt place. I'm like, that sounds great. So we go putt-putt. And I think we probably tied pretty well. He probably beat me a little bit. I was not doing great, but we had a good time. And then we went over to a little bar and we played some pool. Overall, day went super great. Other than like that first little instance where we didn't quite meet up right away and we didn't realize there was a secondary location. So, good night kiss, head out. And we decide at a later time that we're gonna try going to a winery for our second date. So, second date, we're like, okay, sounds good. So we kind of pick a place that's again in the middle, because he lives in an area of Georgia that's kind of more west of Georgia in a place called Marietta, and I live in a place that's north of Georgia called Cumming at that particular time. And they're about 45 minutes to an hour away from each other. So to go from one place to another. So we were trying to find things kind of in the middle that we could both drive to fairly equally. And we had found a winery, and I don't even remember where it was, but planned the day and we were going to go. Well, I was ready to go. Like, I had my outfit on, my hair was done at that particular point, makeup was done, And I get a text message from him, and he's like, "Hey, I got to cancel." And I don't get any additional information. And I'm just kind of like, "Well, crap. Okay, no additional information, nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I just kind of triaged my whole plan, and I throw on a swimsuit, throw my hair up in a bun, go make myself an adult beverage, and I take myself to my mom's pool, where she has an apartment complex pool, or not an apartment complex pool, I'm sorry, a neighborhood pool that I can lounge by the pool and enjoy my afternoon reading. Well, I get to the pool, lovely afternoon. I have a laying there, and 45 minutes pass before I get another text message that says, "Hey, I can go." I'm already at the pool. I am super comfortable. I am in my swimsuit. I am probably sweating because it's probably pretty hot at this particular point, and I'm not going anywhere anymore. I have resigned myself. Not resigned myself. I have decided I am staying at this pool. Well, he texts me and tries to call me for a good, I would say 30 or 45 minutes, trying to convince me to still go on this date. And I'm just not having it. I'm like, "Look, we can plan this another time. However, it is a no-go for today. I wish you had kind of been a little more clear about what was going on." And I think he was having a little bit of a family issue at the time, which is understandable. But if he had kind of prefaced that first conversation with that, I probably would have been more amenable to it. But he didn't. I felt like he kind of dropped me very quickly, like he was bailing, and then he tried to triage the situation almost an hour later. So I wasn't about to have that. I was like, "I'm done. I'm done with this situation for today." So I was like, "You know what? We can try this again later." Okay. Well, about a month goes by, and I'm at a Barnes and Noble, and he texts me. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm at Barnes and Noble up here in Cumming, and yeah, that's pretty much what I'm doing." He's like, "Well, do you want to go have dinner?" I was like, "Sure. How about you want to come up here? There's a mellow mushroom pizza, and I'll meet you there." And we agree on a time. So I get there. I'm a few minutes early because, of course, I'm right there, and that's okay. I have my book, and I have a little appetizer, and I have a little beverage. I don't know. I probably had water with lemon. Honestly, I think I was sitting on the patio, and I'm waiting, and he is about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes past his arrival time when I decide to go ahead and get the check, and I leave because he was 15 to 20 minutes late without texting or calling or anything. I didn't hear a single thing from him, and I was like, "I'm leaving." So I left. I get about halfway back home when he texts me that he's there. And I'm like, "I left." And he's like, "Well, I just got here." It's like, yeah, I can tell. Yeah, I left because you were late and you didn't let me know. And I thought that was quite rude that you just couldn't let me know that you were running behind. And this is now the second time that I feel like you didn't feel like telling me, the information, like filling in those gaps for me. And well, the whole thing, so I could either do this in a whole longer episode, or I can do this in a you know what? I'm gonna keep going. I know we're 9 minutes into this episode, but I'm gonna keep going for the sake of this particular date for this particular situation. So I was supposed to go out of town the following day for work, and I really was not planning on staying up late or anything like that. But I was already back at the house. And again, this is my mom's house. I was still staying there until I could find my apartment and figure some things out. and he convinces me to let him come over so he can give me a gift. I'm like, you know what? I deserve a gift. I really do. Like, I feel like I've put up with a lot. Again, he's not a bad person. I just feel like he was a little unaware and I was a little frustrated. So I let him come over and he looked kind of sad. And I get it, but I was so frustrated. I really was because I felt like I was trying to be open-minded, but like all it takes is communication and I really value communication and I wasn't getting any communication and how can I move forward with someone who's not communicating with me? And my mom pulls up at that particular time and she sees us standing out there at the end of the driveway and he looks like a whipped dog even though, and I'm standing there with my arms crossed because I'm really not like, I'm not super feeling the conversation. I just kind of want him to say what he's going to say so he can go on. And my mom invites him in. It's her house, so she can do that. She can invite him in, that's fine. Again, he's not a bad guy. He's a nice guy. I just think he was a little unaware of how kind of frustrated that I was. And again, he was not supposed to stay because I was trying to send him on his way. I had an early morning the next day. He ended up playing board games with us until probably 2 in the morning. Because Mom decided that she was going to entertain him. We were going to entertain him. It was going to be a great evening of board games. And that's what was going to happen that evening. So we ended up, he and I text for a little while longer, and I ended up going on like one more date with him after that particular date before I just really realized that we're not connecting on a great level. Like it's not bad, but I'm just finding a hard time like really finding like the common denominator of where we can go with this. And so I just tried to let it kind of fall off fairly naturally. He was going through a career change at the time. I was kind of going through some other stuff within my head that I needed to work through. And we both kind of let it fall off. Now, I will say there is a second part to the story that I'm going to go ahead and add into. That was around the 4th of July of 2022. I moved to Huntsville. And right before I moved to Huntsville, like in March, is when he and I, like, he actually texted me. And it was really random. It was, like, out of the blue because I was not expecting it. And he asked me on a date. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, how's he been? So we went on a date. And then we went to a concert. And we were having a really good time. But I knew I was moving. And I knew my job was, like, giving me this opportunity to move. And as much as I probably would have enjoyed staying connected with him, I just knew that it wasn't going to be a situation that I was going to be able to stay in for a period of time and enjoy any sort of relationship with, because I already knew that I was going to feel like he was going to try to always ask me to come back to Georgia, but he was probably not really going to frequently come over here to Huntsville to try to visit me. And I had already kind of started feeling the vibe that it was going to feel one-sided like that. And I'm not a big fan of that because I prefer something that feels more of a partnership rather than like a one-sided, hey, I want you to come over here, I want you to come over here. Like that's really nice that you want me to come over there, but we have to meet in the middle. So, super nice guy, lovely guy, pretty cute too, but it just felt like it was bad timing on all counts. And there are other little nuggets to the story that I could really probably fill you in on, but if I ever talk to you in person and you bring up the story, then I can probably tell you some of those little nuggets. But this episode will be just a little bit longer. Thank you for sticking around. I hope that you had fun with me as we talked about date number 2, or guy number 2 from the dating apps. And until next time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining me on this journey. and I'll see you on the next page. What in the world?